What is up, Trailblazers? How are we all today? So I'm coming at you today with not a character guide, but a light cone guide, I guess you could call it. Basically, I ended up buying the battle pass and realizing that as soon as you get to, I think it's like level 30, you can pick from 7 different light cones in the store. It's one for each path, and then I was looking at each light cone individually and I thought, oh, I could do a guide on kind of which ones I like the best overall, because I mean, you only get one of these per battle pass, which is every few weeks, so you need to make your choice wisely. Now, on top of that, I've also realized that we do have the Echo of War / Forgotten Hall light cones, which are another set of 4-star light cones that you can pick up and farm in-game for free. So they're a lot easier to pick up than the battle pass options, and they don't come at a recurring cost of like $9.99 a month or whatever it is in your location. So it otherwise would imply to me, you know, are these Forgotten Hall options worth considering? Are they any better than the Battle Pass options? I don't know. Why don't we compare the two, since I was doing the Battle Pass options anyway? So with that said, that's brought us to the topic of today's video, aka which light cones come from which pools are worth your investment, and additionally, which light cone of each path comes out on top as a priority choice. So both of us, you and me, can pick correctly. Now, to stop this video from just being a million different tangents, I do have a few objectives to hit in each section, and I'm going to section this video into 7 different sections with respect to the relevant path the light cone comes from. So those goals today are going to be: 1, I'm going to go through each of the Battle Pass and Forgotten Hall weapon and discuss it for my likes and dislikes. 2, I'm going to go choose which one, if any, I like better and why. 3, I'm going to mention if there are any 4-star gacha weapons that I like that could potentially make the winning weapon have quote-unquote less value for certain characters, so you can save your resources if you've been pulling, or you want to focus on which Battle Pass light cone / Forgotten Hall light cone you would like to farm. And finally, 4, I'm going to make a table at the end, basically to just summarize all of my thoughts and conclusions. Now, disclaimer time. This is opinion-based. It's my opinion. I'm not a whale. I don't have every character and every light cone to fully run the numbers. Literally nobody has more than one superimposed battle pass weapon anyway, but things can change over time, and I'm only making a recommendation based on the practical information I have at the time of recording, which is today. I don't know what day it is. I don't know why I said that. Oh well. Finally, I'm going to ignore the 3-star and 5-star light cones for this, otherwise we would just be here for hours. Now, I do know that Herta's store has some free pickups for 3 5-star light cones, but the stat distributions on the 5-star weapons will generally make them an improvement. And again, I just like to control the amount of tangents we have in one video, otherwise it just becomes a bit confused and unwatchable. Plus, I already get a lot of comments saying that I bore people too much. Love you all. Anyway, on that topic, thank you very much for my 1,000 subscribers. I'm glad that some of them aren't bored by how much detail I put in my videos. I'm trying to tidy up my scripts a lot, although this isn't really helping right now. If you do like today's content, please feel free to leave a like or a comment. God, you can tell I'm doing this off script today. Anyway, let's start things off with the Abundance light cone. So, Warmth shortens Cold Nights is our Battle Pass weapon. It will increase the wearer's max HP by 16%, and when using a basic attack or skill, it's going to restore all allies' HP by an amount equal to 2% of their respective maximum HP. I actually really like this weapon a lot, especially on someone like Natasha, whose basic attack I like to use to hit toughness break / build up my skill points. It does have 1,058 HP at max, which if you didn't know is higher than our Forgotten Hall equivalent. There's going to be a recurring trend, by the way, which is only at 952 HP. Overall, a really good pickup. The HP is just basically going to feed way into how you heal people. The Forgotten Hall option, Quid Pro Quo, this is 952 HP, like I say, and it has no HP percent modifier, which is kind of a bummer for people like Natasha and Bilo, who scale their heals off of HP. Now, the energy regen itself is a nice ability, but it is random in its allocation. It's once per turn, and it only hits allies with less than 50% energy, so it won't give you like a clutch ultimate charge up on a kind of retaliation hit. The weapon is fine in my opinion, but overall drumroll, I think the Warmth wins on this one. So the Battle Pass, if you're trying to run a healer for being a pure healer, it's definitely going to come way ahead of Quid Pro Quo. And also, the energy regen on Quid Pro Quo, I don't know, it seems like if you're having energy issues, your healer doesn't really need to be the character that tries to fix them. I don't think this random energy allocation on QPQ is going to actually fix the problem anyway. Now, I did mention that I would look at optional gacha, quote-unquote, better options. So Shared Feeling is a great alternative to Quid Pro Quo, as it has energy regen for all allies if that's something that you are desperate for. It is at a smaller rate, but it increases the overall healing, so it kind of gives you the best of both worlds of the Battle Pass and the Forgotten Hall weapon, if that's something you want to consider. But yeah, Battle Pass wins this category. Now let's move on to Nihility. So We Will Meet Again is the Battle Pass weapon, and I feel like I've missed a beat on this light cone. Like, everyone likes it, but I just don't care for it that much, in my opinion. I don't know if I'm missing something. So I get it, like, Nihility characters like Pela and Well are there to debuff the enemy, and in doing so, they're going to increase your overall damage output, so why not have them also deal more damage? All of their skills, you know, they scale with attack, cool. That said, their role in the DPS space is more of a sub-DPS slash debuffer combo, and so paying real money for a light cone that really all ins on damage to a random enemy, by the way, and it's like skill, like to a random enemy after a basic attack or skill just feels really clunky to me, especially on my debuffer. If it was in game 3, I'd probably like it a lot more, but as a battle pass weapon, I don't know. So our Forgotten Hall option is for Martyr. It increases the wearer's break effect and increases their damage against shock or wind shear applied enemies as a DOT application. I think this is obviously a nice pickup if you run Sampo specifically, or in the future if you opt for someone like Kafka, but the damage output isn't as high as We Will Meet Again. So if you are trying to go for this like sub DPS role in your Nihility character, fair. Now, I don't think either option wins personally. I think it's a tie, to be honest, because I just don't care for either of these options. They're both fine light cones at best, in my opinion. If you are really stuck, We Will Meet Again works on all characters without needing a wind or lightning element in your party. So at least Pela and Well aren't relying on someone like a Dan Hung or Serval party member, which technically means that We Will Meet Again wins, congratulations again, Battle Pass. Now, the gacha option, Resolution Shines, something like Pearls or whatever, is just leaps ahead of both options, in my opinion. It applies a defense decrease to the enemy, so on someone like Well or Sampo, it's going to be a great pickup. If you have this, I kind of would just ignore the two options. That's just my opinion. Bye. Okay, Preservation. So our Battle Pass weapon is This Is Me. So this increases defense and damage of your ultimate. It's a base 16% defense, which is what we see in a lot of Preservation light cones. Example, Amber, Landau's Choice, Day 1 of My New Life, etc, etc. And while it does scale higher, so it gets a lot more worth at Super Imposition 5, because it goes up to 32%, that is 5 battle passes worth of one 4-star light cone. So let's just relax on the defense stats for now, and it's kind of the standard 16%. Now, the ult damage increase, I get it, but I always feel like if you're going to build for an ult on your tank to do more damage, you're doing something wrong, because, I don't know, not every character in your like team has to be the DPS. Overall, it's a decent light cone for the kind of defense increase, but I don't care for this passive on the 3 tanks that we have, in my opinion. Over to We Are Wildfire, which is our Forgotten Hall store option. This is more of a viable team-wide weapon. You get party damage mitigation. At the start of the battle, you get some healing with, I don't know, it's just a nice, more even weapon overall. Now, the comparison is hard for me because This Is Me has a big stat boon in that its HP is 846 and the defense on it is 529, whereas We Are Wildfire has 740 HP and defense of 463. So you are getting a much higher self-defense in the Battle Pass option, and I don't know, maybe Pitchfork's out on this one. While the stat increases are nice, prepare to unsubscribe, I actually think that with the amount of AoE damage and cleave damage we get in the game from enemies, I kind of prefer the flat damage mitigation and the sustain of We Are Wildfire. So I'm actually going to give this to We Are Wildfire, which is the free-to-play one. Congrats. For gacha options, Day 1 of My New Life takes the best parts of both of these weapons and combines them with a ton of HP to boot, so let's just summarize with, I would go for that one if you're liking either of the two options for the preservation path. Now, onto the Hunt, which is where all of my favorite characters live. So, Return to the Darkness is our Battle Pass weapon, and I actually do really like this weapon because having crit rate there is just a really nice stat to have on a weapon for making your DPS builds easier. But also there's this buff dispel once per attack, which is kind of actually really fun because you get some DPSs like Zele and Dan Hung who can actually attack a lot, especially when they utilize team mechanics like advance forward or having their own high ult uptime. So being able to have a percent chance to remove a buff is actually not bad at all. It also has quite a nice decent attack stat of 529, so yeah, pretty good weapon. Now, River Flows is our Forgotten Hall option. I know it's a good weapon to a lot of people, but I'm really not bowled over by River Flows a lot of the time. A, the value of speed can fall off pretty quickly if you have someone like Bronya on your team who can manipulate the action point order of the game. B, again with speed, this is percent based, so it's not as if you get to drop something like your speed relic because you have this light cone and then you can build attack on your feet. Like, you'd still need to build speed anyway. And C, losing both the speed and your flat damage increase after taking a hit is annoying because you might be trying to do some of the same turn and retaliations with something like an ult, and it's going to kind of throw you off a bit. So comparison wise, I'm going to give this to Return to Darkness overall. I really like the weapon. Crit rate or crit damage are always good. This one is crit rate, which is, you know, usually the lowest stat you get to farm, and so it's just a nice weapon to save you some time with your build, to be honest. For 4-stars in general, you do have Swordplay and Only Silence Remains, which I see a lot of the time as people's recommended 4-star bis for building overall damage. They're really good weapons. I don't know, I think the Hunt is like a very contested one. Whichever weapon you have, go for it. I don't think the Battle Pass weapon is a priority, but it is a good weapon. Let's move over to Harmony. So for our Battle Pass weapon, we have Carve the Moon, Weave the Clouds. This one's just really good. I mean, I think this one's great. There's a random element to it, which I have been using as a negative for some of the other light cones, but all three effects are really nice effects, and they do get cycled throughout the battle with a reapplication per turn. It's attack or crit damage or energy regen, so again, three really nice buffs. It goes great with all of our Harmony Path characters in my opinion. It's just a really good pull for me. Alternatively, Past and Future is our Forgotten Hall free weapon. I do like this weapon on paper, but you have A, to use a skill for it to trigger, which not everyone in Harmony will want to skill spam every turn, and then B, you need your allies' speed properly lined up so that someone like your DPS goes next to make the most of this weapon. It's basically a Bronya / advanced forward light cone. If you're not using it on them, it loses value. Overall, Carve the Moon wins for me by a long mile. Shockingly, I don't really care for most of the 4-stars in the Harmony pool. Dance 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 is an advanced forward light cone, so it's doing a different job than the two above, and Memories of the Past / Planetary Rendezvous are just so very situational for me. I think the Battle Pass Harmony one, Carve the Moon, Weave the Clouds, is just a really good pickup. Destruction is our next category, which is my second favourite path, starting with Nowhere to Run. So it's going to increase your attack by 24%, and then whenever the wearer defeats an enemy, they restore HP equal to 12% of their attack. Look, with this one, you're here for the weight of the light cone itself. I think passive-wise, this loses some value if you don't have someone like Clara, because if you're running like a destruction character like Arlen, who likes to drop their HP, then the HP restoration can be a bit of a difficult one to juggle, essentially. I don't know, the HP restoration just feels a bit for me, but that's how destruction characters are. They're a bit of a nightmare to focus on. That said, very decent attack stat of 529 and the 24% attack increase, so if you're just looking to beef up your destruction character, go for this weapon. Our free alternative is Woof Walk Time. It's more tailored towards like people like Hook and the Physical Trailblazer because of the second effect, which increases their damage to enemies afflicted with burn or bleed. This is a very situational, you need to have the break effect on. And then the stats are a lot weaker on this weapon. 476 attack with 10% attack increase and 16% conditional damage increase. It's a lot more of a frail paper bag option, and you don't really want that on your DPS. I don't know, I think the Battle Pass Lightcon wins for me just on raw damage output alone. For the 4-star gacha options, you have the Mole Welcomes You, which can try to compete for damage in longer fights, and then you have a Secret Vow, which is a boss killer. If you have a few copies of these, they're definitely going to have a lot more value than a superimposed one Battle Pass weapon, and that's where it kind of loses its priority for me. Finally, if you're sick of hearing me talk, you're in luck, we have Erudition. So for the Erudition path, we have Today is Another Peaceful Day as our Battle Pass option. God, the maths on this one. Okay, so after entering battle, increase the wearer's damage based on their max energy. Damage is increased by 0.2% per point of energy up to 160 energy. And this doesn't read as energy recharge, so it's definitely off of, in my opinion, the flat energy cost, so your cost of your ult. Let's look at what we have character-wise. At the bottom we have 100 Saval energy ultimate cost, and at the top we have 140 Shinkwei. That's it. In the middle, 110 Herta, 120 Himiko. So basically 0.2% being the base damage increase of 20% for Serval's total energy, and it rises up to 28% damage increase if you have someone like Shinkwei on this. Obviously this gets a lot more value at Superimpose 5 because the damage increase looks like 40% for Serval and 56% for Shinkwei. But I don't know, I just don't like this weapon, sorry. Like, all that to say it's a 20% damage increase on someone like Saval, and it maybe gets a bit better with superimposing a lot of copies. Meh. And then the Forgotten Hall option is the Seriousness of Breakfast. It has a 12% damage increase at base with a 4% rising attack bonus per enemy defeated. Now do remember this is per defeated enemy, so you're not going to get a lot of value in a fight with 1 to 2 enemies, and this kind of only really ramps up with 3+ enemies. But then you've also got to remember, like, you know, if you're on a 3 enemy fight and then you defeat the 3rd enemy, it's not as if you're getting 3 stacks because like the fight ends. So I don't know, very low rising banner, but like, I don't know, not for me personally. I just don't like either of these options, sorry. Like, okay, I think the battle pass wins out of the two, but I reluctantly give this a win by default. You know, however, we do have some really good 4-star gacha weapons in the Erudition path. So Make the World Clamor gives energy regen and ult damage increase, while Genius's Repose does a pretty decent job at generic damage coverage. And if you're running a follow-up attacker like Herta or Himiko, you do have the Birth of the Self to consider. So I'm just not interested in either of the Erudition options that we have, in my opinion. They're so low priority. I don't care. Sorry. Now, in conclusion, we've had some wins and losses today, everyone, and as expected, the Battle Pass weapons do have a little bit more value than the Forgotten Hall counterparts, sometimes just on stats alone, or like, you know, damage output, like the obvious categories. But let's recap the winner of each category just to remind ourselves. So, Abundance, Battle Pass, Nihility, it was a tie, but I give it to the Battle Pass. Preservation went to the Forgotten Hall. Hunt, Battle Pass. Harmony, Battle Pass. Destruction, Battle Pass. And Erudition, a tie because I don't care, but Battle Pass. So obviously the idea for you is to collect these Battle Pass weapons as a reward for spending money though, so I do think there's some merit in ranking them in order of priority as well, which should be on screen. Priority being based on an imaginary world where you have no other light cones at your disposal and you're just using the Battle Pass to pick a light cone. If you like my ramblings, I say you may be able to save your Battle Pass coin in some places based on this, and you can ignore, in my opinion, the Nihility and Preservation and maybe even the Erudition weapons for the time being. And in addition, I would give specific high contender priority today to the Abundance, the Hunt, and the Harmony light cones, as I think they have like the most value for your, like, what was it, like 10 or a month? I don't know. Like I say, check the gacha options we discussed today, because sometimes some of the gacha weapons compete quite fairly with the Battle Pass options, and you do need to remember that these Battle Pass options, you only get one per Battle Pass. It's not like a weekly one. You're not going to see a superimposed 5 weapon anytime soon. God, this video is very long. I'm very sorry, but I hope you enjoyed the quick 17-minute summary of all the weapons. If you did, feel free to leave a like. I hope this helped as always. I'm sorry it's not a character guide. I just wanted to dip my toe into the fun world of Lycom review. Anyway, thanks, enjoy your evening or day or whatever time it is, and I shall see you in the next one. Bye!